Did you know that just a small change in your eyes could be the very first sign that something serious is happening inside your body, long before your doctor even notices it? Every day, millions of seniors over 60 are quietly losing their vision, not because of age or genetics, but because they've ignored the subtle signals their eyes have been trying to send. Think about your morning today. When you looked in the mirror, did you notice your eyes looking a little dry, red, or dull? Maybe those dark circles have stayed longer than usual. If so, your body might be trying to tell you something. Your eyes, often called the windows to your health, don't just help you see the world. They reflect the overall health of your inner systems, from your liver and heart to your nervous system and hormones. When your eye's health declines, it's not just about blurry sight. It's your body's way of warning you that something deeper is out of balance. Researchers call the eyes the miniature map of your body. Tiny changes in the retina can reveal early signs of diabetes, high blood pressure, or even nerve degeneration. But here's the good news. You can still improve vision even after 60 if you learn how to listen and take care of your eyes the right way. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the 7 warning signs your eyes reveal about your health and the simple at-home checks anyone can do to spot them early. And at the end of this video, I'll share a 1-minute test, a powerful way to know the true condition of your eye's health today. The beginning of the story. In a small town in Arizona, where the golden sun stretches across the horizon almost every day, there lived a 68-year-old man named Robert. He used to be a music teacher, loved reading, and often took long drives through the desert roads. But lately, something had changed. Each morning, when Robert looked in the mirror, his eyes didn't shine the way they used to. The whites looked a little cloudy, his eyelids slightly swollen, and sometimes his vision blurred when he tried to read the morning paper. He told himself it was normal, just part of getting older, but he was wrong. One afternoon while driving home from a music lesson, Robert suddenly noticed the road signs ahead turning hazy. He had to squint hard just to read them. That moment scared him. He realized something was happening to his eyes and maybe to his overall health. When he finally went for an eye exam, his doctor explained that his eyes were severely lacking essential nutrients. Those dry, red, puffy signs weren't about age. They were his body's alarm system. Robert's story isn't rare. Over 60% of Americans above 60 experience eyes health problems, yet most never realize it until it's too late. They often blame old age until their world slowly fades out of focus. But here's what Robert learned. Most of that damage can be prevented and even reversed by making small, consistent changes in daily habits, from eating right to resting properly. Anyone can begin to improve vision and protect their health naturally. The eyes never lie. They are the mirror of everything happening inside you. When they become tired, red, or dry, it's your body's way of speaking. And in the next part, you'll uncover the 7 signs your eyes have been whispering to you, the ones you may have overlooked for years. The true meaning behind the eyes. A week later, Robert returned to his doctor's office. Dr. Linda, an Italian-American woman with a calm, warm voice, greeted him with a reassuring smile. She handed him the results of his eye exam and said gently, "Robert, your eyes are telling us so much, not just about your vision, but about your overall health." She pointed at the screen showing detailed images of his retina. "These tiny blood vessels," she explained,
Allow me to see that your blood pressure is higher than normal. That's what's causing the blurriness and the dryness in your eyes." Robert was stunned. He had never imagined that his eyes could reveal early signs of heart and circulation problems. Driving home that day, he thought about his father, who had lost his vision in his 70s. He wondered, if Dad had known sooner, could things have been different? That question stayed with him and led him to start learning more about eye health. Robert began reading books, watching health programs, and he discovered something powerful. The eyes aren't just organs of sight. They are reflections of the liver, kidneys, nervous system, and even diet. Every small change in the eyes was connected to something deeper inside the body. From that day on, he decided to take action. He added foods rich in vitamin A and B2, reduced sugar, went to bed earlier, and spent each morning looking out at the Camelback Mountains to relax his vision. Within weeks, his eyes felt less dry, his sight steadier, and his energy stronger. Robert's journey became a reminder that even after 60, it's never too late to improve vision and restore natural health. And in the next part, you'll discover the exact 7 signs Dr. Linda helped him recognize, the quiet warnings your eyes may be sending every single day.
The 7 signs your eyes reveal about your body. One quiet morning, golden autumn light filled Robert's small wooden kitchen in Arizona. He sat at the table with a cup of decaf coffee, flipping through the notebook where he had written down Dr. Linda's words. "Observe your eyes every day. They'll tell you what's happening inside your body." She had taught him that there are 7 key signs every senior over 60 should know about. Each one, she said, could help improve vision and prevent deeper health issues before they even start. Sign 1. Red or bloodshot eyes. If your eyes often look red and tired, Linda had explained, it may mean your body is lacking vitamin B2 or suffering from stress. Robert realized his soda and sweet snacks were draining his nutrients and hurting his eyes' health. Sign 2. Dry or burning eyes. That's a classic sign of vitamin A and omega-3 deficiency. He started taking fish oil and eating carrots, and within weeks, the dryness faded. Sign 3. Puffy eyes and dark circles. Your body may be retaining fluid or reacting to excess sugar and lack of sleep. Robert went to bed earlier, cut out sugar, and soon noticed his face looked fresher. Sign 4. Nighttime blurriness. That means your retina is weak, Linda told him. He began a habit of looking far into the distance each morning, a simple but powerful exercise for his vision. Sign 5. Twitching eyelids. That's low magnesium, she said with a laugh. Robert replaced coffee with leafy greens, and the twitching disappeared. Sign 6. Cloudy or misty vision. It could be an early sign of cataracts. Add vitamin B1 and stay hydrated. Sign 7. Hollow or sunken eyes. It's a sign of exhaustion. Robert began breathing exercises and daily morning walks. Slowly, his eyes grew clearer and brighter. Each small change helped Robert regain not just his eyes' health, but his confidence and energy. As Linda smiled and told him, "Your eyes aren't just healing, Robert. Your whole health is." In the next part, she warned him about the signs that must never be ignored. The ones that mean your eyes are calling for help. The dangerous signs you should never ignore. One evening, Robert was reviewing an old sheet of music he used to teach his students when the notes suddenly blurred. He blinked several times, but the haze didn't clear. The room lights seemed brighter than usual, forcing him to squint. In that moment, he remembered Dr. Linda's warning. If one day you start seeing halos around lights, floating dark spots, or sudden blurred vision, don't wait. Come in immediately. Those could be signs of something serious inside your eyes. The next morning, he went back to the clinic. Linda greeted him with her usual smile, but her tone grew serious as she examined his eyes. "Good thing you came right away," she said. "Your retina is starting to weaken, but we caught it in time. With the right changes and regular care, we can prevent further damage." Robert sat silently, realizing how close he had come to losing part of his vision. He never knew that a few subtle changes in the eyes could warn of conditions like glaucoma, retinal detachment, or even a mini stroke, problems many seniors mistake for simple aging. Linda explained calmly, "When you experience sudden vision loss, deep pain behind the eyes, or lose sight on one side, that's not aging. That's your body sounding an emergency alarm. You must listen before it's too late." That day changed how Robert saw eyes health forever. He understood that aging isn't what takes away sight, it's neglect. When we stop paying attention to the signs, the world starts to fade. From then on, Robert made it his mission to share his experience with friends at the local music club. He told them that caring for their eyes could do more than improve vision. It could protect their whole health and independence. And soon, he would begin a 7-day plan that helped him restore his vision naturally. A plan anyone over 60 could follow at home.
The 7-day eye recovery plan. After that appointment, Robert went home with a new mindset. He no longer saw vision loss as something inevitable with age, but as a part of his health he could protect and strengthen. Dr. Linda suggested a simple 7-day eye reset challenge, and to his surprise, just 1 week later, Robert noticed real change. Day 1. Hydration. "Every cell in your eyes needs water," Linda had said. Robert started each morning with a glass of mineral water before breakfast and cut back on coffee. By evening, his eyes already felt less dry. Day 2. Screen breaks. He began following the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes of reading or TV, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. It gave his vision time to rest and refocus. Day 3. Nutrition for the retina. Linda encouraged foods rich in lutein and vitamin A, organic eggs, spinach, carrots. Robert swapped red meat for salmon, fueling his eyes' health naturally. Day 4. Sleep. He used to stay up late composing music, but now he went to bed by 10 p.m. The next morning, the whites of his eyes looked brighter. Day 5. Gentle exercise. Walking in natural light keeps the tiny vessels in your eyes strong, Linda reminded him. Robert walked the Camelback Trail every morning, breathing deeply and feeling his eyes relax. Day 6. Cut sugar and processed oils. He traded pastries for fresh fruit and replaced fried food with olive oil. Within days, his puffiness and eyelid swelling disappeared. Day 7. Gratitude. Take 1 minute each morning to thank your eyes, Linda said. Robert laughed at first, but then realized how gratitude slowed him down and brought peace. After 7 days, he sat by his window, watching the desert sunset, everything sharp and radiant again, not just with his eyes, but with his mind and spirit. And now, every morning, he uses one simple 1-minute test to make sure his eyes and his health are still on the right path.
The 1-minute tests and a message for everyone over 60. On a calm Sunday morning, sunlight streamed gently through the blinds. Robert sat in front of the mirror, holding a small note from Dr. Linda. It read, "Do this 1-minute test every morning. It's how your eyes tell you they're thankful." He took a deep breath and looked closely at his reflection. The whites of his eyes were clear, bright, and calm. No redness, no haze. He blinked slowly, then looked out the window toward the Camelback Mountains, glowing in the Arizona light. Everything appeared sharp, vivid, and peaceful. He smiled, not just because his vision had improved, but because he could feel his health returning from the inside out. Robert wrote in his journal that morning, "On the first day, I didn't believe small changes could improve vision. But now I understand. The real gift isn't just seeing clearly again, it's learning to listen. The eyes always speak before illness arrives." At 68, Robert still teaches music. He tells his students that both sound and light need care, that harmony begins with good health. He encourages his friends at the senior center to try the Eye Reset Challenge. They start drinking more water, sleeping earlier, eating fresh food, and practicing gratitude. Week by week, they notice their eyes clearer, their minds lighter, their energy higher. During his latest checkup, Dr. Linda smiled and said, "Robert, your eyes aren't just healthy, they're younger. When you care for your eyes, you're caring for your soul." That sentence stayed with him. He realized that no matter the age, it's never too late to improve vision, to nurture eyes health, and to protect what truly matters. So if you're over 60, take a moment tomorrow morning to look in the mirror, not just to see yourself, but to listen to what your eyes are saying. When they shine bright and clear, it means your body, your heart, and your spirit are living in balance.